I'm good, I would need, I would die, 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 I would need, I would die.
This is probably the topic that I'm by far the most passionate about, but two, it's by far the most unsexy, uninteresting, uncomplicated. But yeah, like this topic, when we beat it up, I've got some of our team on here. And it's like we have these conversations on a daily basis. So we're going to talk about like what we consider to be and what's been proven to be. And not that we created it, because we certainly didn't. However, we have been very intentional with making sure we're surrounded by some of the most successful people. We pay an absolute fortune for coaching and for best practices. And we learn what works and we learn what doesn't. And what Booney and I and our team work on a very consistent basis is one, doing things that work. And so it's like one of the most important things, I want to start it with this, is as we're going to give you new things that we implement, and honestly, it's not going to be a new genius, brilliant idea, but the things that are going to be new to you and to your day and to your daily commitments, it's super important that you understand one really important thing, that the likelihood of getting a new habit to stick, if you focus on just creating one new habit, the likelihood of you being able to get that new habit and actually creating a habit out of it is 86% success rate if you focus on one. But what we all do, and we know what time of year we're going into, and it's the time that we're trying to set new resolutions, we're going to set new goals, we're going to get all excited, we're going to start eating right, we're going to start cold calling for 7,000 hours a day, we're going to make 7,000 phone calls, even though we've only made 3 in the last 6 months. We get way too excited, we way overcommit, we try to implement way too many things. And then after our first couple of weeks and couple months, if any of you guys go to the gym's by far it's the perfect illustration of what we all do for our New Year's resolutions. Gym's going to be packed on January 2nd. But then after the first week, starts getting less people. 2 weeks later, less people. 3 weeks, less people. And after about a month, the gym gets back to what it normally was. So it's like, as you focus on new things, and I tried to be very intentional about not annualizing our goals and our commitments, because when you try to focus on just that one big picture, it becomes really difficult to track. It becomes very difficult to maintain. So focus on, if you've ever read the book 12-Week Year, it's by far one of the best books that you can read on this particular topic, because they go into how you can get more done by focus on more granular portions of our year. So 2, trying to implement 2 new habits, the likelihood of success of getting that habit to actually get it turned into a habit to where the same exact thing, because we all have them. We wake up, you check your phone, you go brush your teeth, you make your coffee. We all have a pretty identical habit system every single day. Some of those habits serve us, some of them harm us, but we all have our habits. To get it into that secondhand nature to where we just wake up and it happens, we really need to focus on turning it into an actual habit. So 86% if you focus on 1, it's a 40% likelihood of success if you focus on 2. And it's a 3% likelihood of success. And this is a study that they did through Harvard. And Harvard University found that when we tried to implement 3 new habits, which everybody goes into the new year, and most people focus on creating new habits and getting new commitments, the likelihood of getting 3 is 3% success rate. So focus on what really works. There's a quote by Thomas Edison, and he says, if people did what they were capable of doing, we would truly astonish ourselves. And it's crazy because as you start meeting guys like Dan Beer, Kyle Whistle, Mark Pattison, some of these just mega crazy agents, if you get lucky enough to spend a ton of time with these guys, you'll realize, and this is not an insult in any way, shape, or form, they will tell you the same exact thing. There is nothing fancy about them. There's no knowledge, there's no skill set, there's no anything that they have that any of us do not. It's more so that they have an ability to actually implement effective change. They have the ability to maintain and keep a new habit. And it's like, if we, in the disciplines of actually doing these things day in and day out, and it's like, what would happen and how unrecognizable would we be if we really tapped into our full potential, not just for a day, not just for a week, not just for a month, but for a quarter and for a year and 2 years and 3 years and 5 years? It's like, how different would we be if every single day you woke up and had the very best version of yourself? And I know that sounds cheesy, and by no way, shape, or form is any of this stating that you're going to be at 100% compliance. It's like the most ineffective diet programs. I hate 75 hard. more than anything in the world, but it's the diet program and it's the commitment that most people are. It's very well known on social media right now. It creates these crazy conditions, and I love it because it is hard. And if you can prove to yourself that you have the ability to do it, but I truly believe it sets people up for failure, because people go through these so hard extremes that really are not sustainable. We put ourselves in these conditions and we make these commitments that do not create a balanced life. We make these commitments that don't allow us to enjoy our hard work. And it's like going to work out today, cool. But I also like to go have wine on a date night. I also like to take my daughter out and cheat and have sushi night. I also like to go have some soccer. There's just these things that we love to enjoy that our hard work earns us. And what happens every single time, my own coach did this. He did 75 hard. The guy lost 50 pounds. 6 months later, he put on 63. So it's like he lost all the weight, did these crazy disciplines, overcommitted on everything. It was not a sustainable lifestyle. They were not sustainable habits. And when we fall off and we get to the finish line, we're done. And then people revert back to their old habits. They revert back to their old conditions. So it's like, truly, if we had the ability to just implement sustainable change as we go into the new year, and this isn't a new year goal resolution thing, we're not going to go deep on how you need to set up your year. This is just every single day, the levers that we all need to pull in our business, and it's not going to translate perfectly to you. The day that I'm going to give you for me and for our team may not work for you and for yours. There's going to be the amount of time on one particular topic isn't necessarily going to be the duration of time that you guys need to spend on it. So none of these are absolute, but each of these levers in our business and in our lives have to be pulled, whether it's in yours or it's in ours. So understand the times. You do what you do. You can make it longer. You can make the connect. You can change anything, but each of these levers does need to be pulled. And there's that quote by Thomas Edison. He says, if we did all the things that we are capable of doing, we would truly astound ourselves. And we're not missing it. The knowledge is readily available. There is nobody here who doesn't have access to any information that the Dan Beers and the Kyle Whistles and the Mark Pattisons and the Kenny Fasts have access to. Like, we all have access to that knowledge. But the biggest problem that we see everybody have is you can have the knowledge, but if we don't put that knowledge into play, it's literally just an idea that we never get off the ground. A really good idea is completely useless if you don't put it into action. So execution has just been proven. And it's funny because now people will look at where we're at and like, wow, you guys grew overnight. And it's like, yeah, we've grown a ton in the last 3 to 4 years, but I've been doing this for 14. I had 10 years of wildly and effectively doing shit. We had 10 years of trial and error and doing things just so ineffectively that all of a sudden, when we got surrounded by people who showed us truly how you can gain momentum and to show us how we can make effective change, it's like only then did we realize that execution is the differentiator. Mark Pattison, one of the first guys that really got me interested in our group at Fast Forward Movement, was the guy who I went down and I visited him, and I realized he will put out the most imperfect, shitty plan in 12 hours. Like, he does not wait. He does not try to create this perfect plan. The guy simply implements and executes. And he taught me, and this is what our office is now, we are an airplane that fixes itself while we are in the air. Because the imperfect plan, the plan that he's implemented and executed, is far better than the perfect one that I'm still working on that I've yet to put into action. So it's like we really need to be intentional with just implementing and executing. And we have to understand that each of these things, execution, is going to be the real differentiator for everybody. And I'm not talking about just for a day. I'm not talking about for a week. We're not talking about for a quarter. We're truly talking about getting these things implemented and executing for a sustainable period of time. Because the one thing that is by far the most important through all of it is that you have to do it on the days that we don't feel like it. When you wake up and you're overly tired, and you wake up and your bad decisions made you hungover, and you woke up and your kids are screaming. It's like there's so many things that can get in the way. We truly have to do it on the days that we don't want to. And the people that figure out, when I'm going to do this on the days that I don't feel like it, how great do you feel in the days when you're like, you know what, I don't feel like going to the gym today, but you force yourself to go because you had an accountability buddy who's going to force you to get your ass up and meet him at the gym. Like, I have a group where, and we hear people talk about this, They're like, oh, you're a morning person. Fuck no, I'm not a morning person. I hate mornings more than anything in this world. If I did not set my alarm, I did this. I was in Nashville this weekend. I didn't set my alarm. We had blackout shades. And my girlfriend, I slept until like 11:30 as a grown adult. 11:30. I'm not a morning person that naturally wakes up super early. But I have an accountability group that if I do not check in with this accountability group, I have to pay each of them $100. And there's days when I'm totally willing to make that investment. There's days where I'll let that slide, but I'm not going to do it for a prolonged period of time because after a while, it gets really expensive to do that type of stuff. And so, and again, I'm going to preface, none of this stuff is going to be groundbreaking or change your life or be like, oh my God, I've never heard something like that before. It's not the knowledge that's the issue. It's the implementation and execution. And I'll prove it to you by telling you 65% of Americans are obese and overweight. Do we all know how to lose weight? 1000%. It is not hard. Losing weight is by far one of the easiest things to do. We all know how to do it. We have the knowledge. We know that we have the know-how. But I'm going to steal it directly from John Cheplack. It's not a knowledge issue. It is a choice issue. We don't have time management problems. We have choice management problems. It is simply the ability to do the things that we know how to do. And more importantly, the ability to do it on the days that you don't want to. And it's insanely simple. So if we all truly just execute this plan day in and day out, I know for a fact anybody, even in this market, has the ability to double or triple their income. And it's so easy. Everybody has the ability to be great. Being great is just simply having the discipline to do the things that we know we need to do, even when we don't feel like doing it. So to kind of start, and this is when I first got started on this stuff and started trying to figure out like, what's my time block? How am I going to allocate my time? What am I going to do that's most important? The one that I ignored for the vast majority of my career was the first two steps. And it's one, understanding that truly the perfect morning starts the night before. We've all heard it, we've all seen it, but it's really having the discipline to sit and set ourselves up, set up our day, the next day, and have most of our shit already figured out. So you know when you wake up, like I had a guy, my parents had me go get checked because they thought I was having dementia or Alzheimer's because I forget everything. And I legitimately had to go and get a cognitive test just to make sure that I was okay because my parents started freaking me out. And when I talked to the doctor said, do you make a lot of decisions in a day? I said, a ton, yes. And he goes, you need to eliminate as many of those decisions as possible. And I promise you, it's going to start being easier and you'll stress yourself out a lot less. And he was talking about setting out your clothes for the next day. You see the Mark Zuckerbergs and even the Kenny Fast, like there's all these people who are like, I literally wear a black t-shirt every single day in jeans. There's a lot to be said for it because there's bandwidth that we put forth on so many decisions throughout our day that we don't understand the impact that it has. And it sounds crazy and it sounds so easy to overlook and to discount the level of importance of it, but truly not having, by eliminating so many of those decisions, my memory certainly hasn't gotten a whole ton better, but it legitimately helps for me to set my day up the night before and to know I have my clothes set out, I have my meal prep already figured out, I know the book I'm going to read, like it's all already done and set for me every single day. So that when I wake up, I can literally just get into action and do the things that I want to do. Because at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is when I wake up, my brain is not functioning properly. It is a very difficult thing for me to have to make decisions and probably a super dangerous thing for me to have to make decisions at that time in the morning. So one, the perfect morning starts the day before. You need to identify, and we're going to go into this for the day, but what are the 3 most important priorities that I have to get done tomorrow? The average person, if you just did 3 things and you chose 3 of the most important tasks and you said, these are the 3 things that I can focus on that are truly going to move my business forward. What are the non-negotiables that I have to get done tomorrow? You'll make 10 times the progress of anybody else. Because if you truly go track a person's productivity throughout the day, that doesn't go through the process, that doesn't create the framework, that doesn't plan what has to get done, their effectiveness of their time is shit. They've done studies of this, and 3 hours is what they found in, they did a study for Fortune 500 CEOs, and they did a study on each of these CEOs to find out how much of their day is focused on productive activities, and the results were terrible. 3 hours of their day was proactive and the rest of it was reactive. And the only way you can shield yourself from that is by identifying the proactive things that are going to move the business forward. That is not, and just to clarify, like when we talk about these three important things, it shouldn't be just making your 5 phone calls. Like you need to have very specific measurable tasks that have to be completed. And you're going to identify each of those 3 priorities that are non-negotiable for the following day. The second part, which is the part that nobody likes at all in any way, shape, or form, is wake up earlier. It's like if you are stressing and if each and every day you're bitching that you don't have enough time and there's just not enough time in the day, and I can't do it because, oh, I don't go to the gym at night and I don't do this and I don't do that because it's hard and it sucks. And it's like totally most productive things that are going to be meaningful in your life and it's going to change your business tomorrow. I've got news for all of us. Most of the things that are positive for us are harder to do and they make us uncomfortable. It's a lot easier to eat like shit. It's a lot easier not to go to the gym. It's a lot easier to choose to sleep in. It's a lot easier to hit snooze. If you aren't having enough time in your day, just simply wake up earlier. And we talk about it, people are like, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person either. It took a really long time for me to be able to wake up when I do. And it took massive amounts of accountability from people who are willing to hold me accountable to get me to be able to do that. And I'm not saying you got to wake up at 3, but if you wake up at 7, try to wake up at 6 and don't try to go from 7 to 3 a.m. because I did and I thought I was going to die the next day. So it's like literally I moved it up 30 minutes. If I was waking up at 7, I tried to wake up at 6:30 and I do that for a couple of days. And then I'd move it up to 6 and I'd do that for a couple of days. And then I moved it to 5:30 and then to 5. As I gradually started moving up the wake up time, it got a lot easier for my body to adjust to this new time and this new cadence and this new schedule. So the things that you're going to do when you wake up early, and this is the one part that I ignored forever because I thought it was cheesy, I thought it was gimmicky, and I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. But it was what sets up our morning for success. And for me, the very first thing I do when I wake up, because my brain's not firing on all cylinders, I wake up, I check in with my group, I grab my book, and I make sure that I read for 30 minutes. And it is by far one of the best things I do. And when I don't do it, I truly feel more stupid throughout the day. Like I love being able to read something, and whatever it is for you guys, it may be yoga for you. It may be something that works for you, that gets your brain going, that gets you thinking, that gets you excited, that gets you motivated. It's something that's hitting me from a positive perspective that's going to help me move the needle forward. As soon as I'm done with that, Tony Robbins, stealing this from him, affirmations and gratitudes. And this was the thing that I thought was so stupid because it was like affirmations. Like I'm not going to speak a Ferrari into existence, and I can guarantee you that. However, the one thing that I did figure out is what I've learned with affirmations is it really gives you the ability to remember why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And your affirmations can be, and I'm actually going to read you guys some of mine because I remember when I first started doing this, I was like, well, what are good affirmations? There was a point in time where I started in this and I had a really difficult time waking up first thing. So one of my affirmations is I wake up every morning at 3 o'clock. Not I will, but I do. I do wake up every morning at 3 o'clock. And then I had one of my affirmations of I control my reactions because I'm definitely back in the day with a lot more back then than I am now. But I was a hothead and I had reactions and I'd be overly reactive to things. And I didn't meet whatever the challenge or whatever the issue was, calm, cool, and collected. And it was really not a positive thing for me. It wasn't positive for the people within our organization. So it's like now I seek discomfort knowing that's where growth occurs. And I remind myself of this every single day. I take daily action towards a compelling future. I understand the benefits and the consequences of compounding daily small decisions. That one, for me, is because I like going to the candy jar that they always put at the front desk. Going to that candy jar just one time. We have a lock in my office, and I swear to God, if you go over there, there's a giant bike lock on the cabinet. And because Ozzy, who's on here, and a couple other offenders bring in candy and junk food and shit, and I'm really focused on health and fitness, and I try to stay in really good shape, but I have a very bad inability to say no to sweets. So we put a bike lock on it so I can't get access to it. One day they're going to come in here and I promise that cabinet's going to be ripped off the hinge. But that's where we keep the candies. And it's like the reason it's there is because we can make that bad decision today. And we can eat that donut today, and we can eat that burger tomorrow, and we can skip those phone calls today, and we can skip it tomorrow. But if we do it for a prolonged period of time, these little tiny small decisions that seem inconsequential add up and have compounding really negative effects that start changing the trajectory of our businesses. They start changing the trajectory of our health. They start changing the trajectory of our relationships, both business and impersonal. So for me, I understand the benefits and the consequences of compounding daily decisions. I know if I make these phone calls every single day without fail, that I'm going to move things in the right direction. My potential to succeed is infinite. My ability to conquer any challenge is limitless. I see gaps in performance as opportunity for growth. That one for me is by far one of my favorites, because whenever we see an issue in performance, and this has to do with our different departments and our agents, it's like, okay, if we're underperforming, the good news is that means there's room for improvement. And I love room for improvement because we can do more with less. We just have to focus on the micro adjustments that are going to help us do it. And I find opportunity in all things that are presented to me. And this doesn't mean that I do or I don't, but what it does do every single morning when I read these affirmations is it reminds me of the shit that I'm trying to do in the direction that I'm going. And it seems cheesy, but I promise you the days that I don't do this, I call it compliance. I try to be like on my diet compliance, on call compliance. It's like I try to be within at least 90 to 95% of compliance of whatever my commitments are. And by reading these and reminding myself why I do what I do, it's the reason it reminds me it connects me with it. The gratitudes, this part, super cheesy. It helps. Like the days, and Tony Robbins will tell you, don't just write the problem that everybody has is you're going to write down your gratitudes. And you're supposed to write down 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. And I caught myself doing this, and it was really ineffective until I listened to Tony Robbins talk about it at one of our events. And he said, this is by far the one thing that you can't overlook the importance of it. You need to write down your gratitudes. But the problem is, if you don't do this next step, you're simply going to write some shit down, and it's not going to change your mindset. It's not going to change how you feel, and it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. And that's to make you and force you to reflect on the positive in your life and the positive influences. So he tells you, I want you to write it down, and I want you to close your eyes. And I really want you to think about why that was something you were grateful for. And your gratitudes, his rule is you cannot say the same thing twice. It always has to be something new. Ozzy, she's on here. You have no idea how many times you've ended up on my gratitude list. She, one time, telling you she was going to take her mom to cancer. To her chemotherapy treatments. She knew how much we loved her coffee. She's in here every morning at 7 a.m. I came in knowing that she wasn't going to be in the office, and there was a fresh pot of coffee made. Ozzy came in, and I remember I stopped. I was like, there's no freaking way that woman came in here and made this damn pot of coffee. Like she has so many other things she needs to go focus on and work on, but she has a heart of gold, and she truly took the time out of her day to make a fucking pot of coffee to help other people. And I know that sounds crazy, but I swear to you, I can tear up and I can cry when I talk about it, because like the heart of this woman. So she does stuff like this all day, every day. So it's like I stop and I think how incredible she is, and I think how amazing she is, and I think truly why I'm so grateful for this person to be in my life. And my mood increases. I become less grumpy. And when you talk about you're grateful for that client, your mood changes and you become more grateful and you change your attitude. When I don't stop and actually think about the things that we are supposed to be grateful for, I'm more grumpy. My day doesn't go the way that I planned. And these gratitudes have honestly been a huge, huge impact and a change for me. Again, none of this is groundbreaking. The gratitude, spend 5 minutes truly reflecting and feeling. The exercise part, like if you have health and fitness as one of your goals, get it done in the morning. At the end of the day, you're tired. Your workout's going to suck. It's going to be wildly ineffective. You'll catch yourself going through the motions, but it's not going to actually create the results that you're looking for. Getting it done first thing in the morning ensures that you actually do it. You get it done. You feel better. It starts your day off right. Those first 2, I fought forever, and I just focused on the rest of these. Getting those first 2 steps, planning your morning the night before, and then truly creating a morning that sets you up to be in a positive, healthy mood and a good mindset. It really has changed everything for us. Number 3, daily role play and objection handling. Again, something that I ignored. I thought it was ineffective. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was pointless. We need to know what to say. We need to know how to say it, and we need to know when to say it. And we need to truly practice. And the problem with screenplay and role play, like you can go read half of these scripts from half of these coaching companies, and then you try to put those scripts into effect. They're wildly ineffective. They're cheesy. They are scripted. They do not help you connect with somebody. It does not feel organic speaking them. This is by far, we do it in my team. It annoys the shit out of them. Our goal is not to practice until we finally get it right. I'm stealing it from Kobe or Michael Jordan, whoever it was. Our goal is to practice it so damn much that we cannot get it wrong. And the scripts that we practice and the things that we need to focus on what's topical in this current market. Like right now, we know for a fact the one objection that's going to come up for our teams and for you as agents, it's going to be, I'm going to go ahead and wait until springtime. That has nothing to do with the economy. It has nothing to do with the recession, has everything to do with the fact that seasonally, I'm going to wait until springtime is just an objection that we have to overcome. So we practice the script that we go through for this. And it's like, hey, I see Christian here, so I'm going to talk to Christian. Christian, help me understand why the springtime is so important to you. And he's just talking about, well, I've got this reason and this reason and that reason and that reason. And it's like, he says, so we're going to go ahead and wait. I totally understand. Now, are you planning to start your search in springtime, or are you wanting to be in your home by springtime? Very important differentiator. We're trying. So it's like we have these conversations and we practice it. And he'll say something like, well, no, we're going to just go ahead and wait. Christian, I totally get it. I'm not trying to rush your plans by any means. Let me ask, if the perfect home that checked all the right boxes popped up, would you be interested in taking a look at that, or would you miss out on that opportunity? And it's like, we want to practice that and internalize it and say every single day that, so when you do end up receiving the objection that the current market is going to give you, that you have the ability to handle it and get somebody to the finish line. Like our job is to progress the ball down the field, and your best ability to do so is by practicing this stuff very difficultly. Like I hate normal role plays because you'll role play. And it's like, hey, Christian, well, it's the perfect, and people just roll over and like, well, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to wait till spring. I'm ready to go today. It's like, that's not how the real conversations go. Do not practice like that. Find role play partners that are going to play in the negative. I want it to be no, 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 all the way through. And you want to make sure that you have the ability to continue diving deeper, continuing trying to connect, continue to try to provide value, continue to ask for the appointment so that you can make more progress with less. So super important. Don't practice. Obviously, we know this. Don't practice with your clients. Interest rate objections, affordability, waiting for the market to crash. Like, guys, this isn't a role play class, but you got to practice that shit every single day, because when you can speak it confidently, when you can say it, you're going to make more progress with your clients. The next steps, by far, if you ignore everything else, this process right here, and it's a time block that you are supposed to make for your prospecting. We all fuck this up, sorry for my language, so badly because we have it time blocked and we pretend we're prospecting. Like I guarantee you 90% of people that have a time block built onto their calendar do not adhere to that time block. When they're supposed to be prospecting, they're sending listings. When they're supposed to be prospecting, they ended up showing a client a home. When they're supposed to be prospecting, they ended up having to take the kids somewhere, which I get it, kids are a priority, but it's like we always let life get in the way. And again, from the John Cheplack, it's my favorite thing. We do not have a time management problem. We have a choice management problem. And the biggest issue that we have in our industry is we are our own bosses and we get to hold ourselves accountable. That's it. You have to show up to your boss and do what you're told when you work a 9 to 5. And you have to show up for somebody else and you have to do the things they tell you to do it, because if you don't, you get fired. But when we have to do things that we know we got to do in order to find success, we have somebody there to hold us accountable. We have somebody there to tell us what we have to do. So we have to make sure that we create these environments for ourselves. So when I talk about prospecting, do not confuse prospecting with follow-up. Your prospecting time, if you're a brand new agent, is going to be way longer than my current prospecting time or Booney's prospecting time. Booney, on it right now, and I know it's more difficult because the larger we scale, it's really difficult to get all these people to focus on the same thing at the same time. So we've cut back. What are you currently having them focus on for the prospecting time?
For the first prospecting time, we are reaching out to people that we have not met yet. For the second prospecting time,
what's the time frame? An
hour? So we cut it down from 9:15 to 9:45, so only half an hour. And then 15-minute breaks, so that way they can get their dialer set up, get your water, go to the bathroom, get some coffee, and then we'll do another Pomodoro for about 30 minutes as well. Yeah, so the Pomodoro effect for this, because we used to do it, we're like, we're going to go prospect for 3 hours. Guess what? We didn't fucking prospect for 3 hours at all, not even close to it.
So it's like if we really sat down and we just tried to spend 25 minutes of focus calling. Now, what that doesn't mean is that you are during that 25-minute time, you're clicking through your CRM, you're trying to figure out who to call, you click on this person, and then you start sending listings. Like it is truly 25 minutes. I'm going to make phone calls and nothing but. You already have your list prepared. That's the preparation the night before that you did. You know who you were going to call, and you were going to call them. I'm going to give you another quick tip. Do not use a dialer for your prospecting time. Even if you're calling expireds, if you're calling for sale by owners, people who just put people into the dialer, when you call me, I'm going to use Mitchell, or I'll use Sherry. When Sherry calls me, her phone number most likely is going to pop up as potential spam. I'm not going to answer her phone call because it says potential spam. And then if she were to call me again a second time immediately after, I'm going to be more curious to see who this person is, because what doesn't happen when it's a dialer? A second phone call. A dialer, potential spam doesn't get answered, goes on to the next one. Potential spam doesn't get answered, goes on to the next one. So it uses it's wildly effective, or excuse me, it's wildly efficient. It's easy, but it's not effective. Like we have to start using methods that are more effective. You can do more in less time if we start using processes that work. So have your list ready. That first 25 minutes, you truly just spend 25 minutes calling everybody that you already knew you were supposed to call. Okay. And then this Pomodoro effect says, go take a 5-minute break, have your coffee, go to the bathroom, come right back and go spend another 25 minutes doing nothing but relentless calling. And it's like, people will talk about, well, I only ended up talking to 1 or 2 people. Dude, that's good. That's a good thing. That means you talk to somebody for a prolonged period of time. If you replicate that result every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, your business would be unrecognizable. The problem is we don't. We don't use that time for the 25 minutes. We overcommit the amount of time that we're going to do something. We say we're going to do way more. Our focus needs to be like during your prospecting time, and you guys have your own goals. And it's like, if you don't have escrows, you're unemployed. So you really got to make sure, and that people don't like that because there's a ton of unemployed people on this call probably. If you have no escrows, you have no job. You got no money coming. So you need to really be focused on becoming employed. You have to hold yourself accountable, because if not, I've got news for you. You're going to go work a 9 to 5, being a barista or doing whatever the hell you're going to go do. And you're going to be told shaken, not stirred, couple pumps of vanilla. It's like, I'm sorry, dude, but I'm not going to be held accountable by somebody else when we have the earning potential that we have here. If we just hold ourselves accountable, the way to the real fucking job will. So the 25 minutes, relentless calling, nothing gets in the way. Now, what people will do is, oh, shoot, Sherry's calling me again. Sherry's a $3 million buyer. Hold on. I'm going to stop making my phone calls and I'm going to pick up Sherry's call because she's a $3 million buyer. Not the end of the world. Probably 90% of people would be like, yeah, totally. That's something you should do. This time is committed for one specific thing, to focus on the business of tomorrow, not the business of today. Sherry, if you call me and I'm your realtor and you're my client, and I pick up the phone, or you know what, I'm not even going to pick up the phone. You receive a text from your realtor. You're a $3 million cash buyer. You're ready to close immediately. And I say, hey, Sherry, I'm in an appointment. Can I call you as soon as I'm done? Is Sherry pissed? No. Is Sherry mad? No. I'm going to lose Sherry as a client? No. If you're sitting with, I'm going to use Mitchell. Mitchell, Sherry's my buyer. You're a $5 million listing appointment. I sit down, I'm having a listing. Would you be offended if I picked up that phone call in the middle of our listing? Most sellers are going to be like, dude, what the fuck? I wouldn't answer that phone call when I'm in a listing appointment with you.
No.
Why? Because I know I'm sitting across another 5 million, regardless of who Sherry is and what a good client she is. I'm in front of a good client now. I'm not going to let Sherry interrupt my time with you. You are supposed to hold your time accountable for what it's supposed to be held accountable. And the reason I won't answer in the listing appointment is because Mitchell's standing there ready to hold me accountable for what my time is supposed to be used for. It would be unprofessional for me to answer that phone call in the middle of that appointment. But when Mitchell's not part of this equation, and I'm in my time block the same way that Mitchell's appointment would be, and I'm in my time block supposed to be making my phone calls and focusing on the business of tomorrow, because I have nobody but myself to hold me accountable, my dumb ass goes, oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to focus on the business of tomorrow. I am going to allow this to interrupt my time. And now I'm going to focus on Mitchell and not what I'm supposed to be doing. We have to be disciplined enough to truly hold our time accountable for what it's supposed to be accountable for. That means when I'm sitting down there, guys, turn your phone off. Turn off social media, close your emails, turn off your notifications, Turn off the news, turn off everything that is going to constantly get in your way. There is billions of dollars being spent in the technology world to literally steal what? Your attention. And if you allow this to work, and if you've seen it on TikTok, I go into these, like one night, I all of a sudden looked up, it was 3:30 in the morning. And the only reason I looked at the time was because TikTok was like, yo, dude, put your phone down. It's time to go to bed. Like it actually said, you should put your phone down. I went down through this spiral. These algorithms are so designed to take your attention. And if you allow it to happen, it's going to happen. So close everything off, turn off your phone. That 1 hour of time does not get interrupted by anything. Now, Lauren comes in and Lauren's like, Colton, sorry to pick on you, Lauren. Lauren comes in, she doesn't actually do this. She comes in, she's like, hey, I know I was supposed to make my phone calls between 9 and 10, but Christian, he wanted to go look at homes between 9 and 10. You guys, it's so occasionally, I'm not going to pretend that this doesn't happen sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have to make an exception and you're going to have to take that appointment that gets in the way of what it's supposed to be used for. That needs to be an isolated incident. That cannot become a trend. And our most successful agents, I promise you, do not show homes between 9 and 11, almost ever. Because when Christian calls and he says, hey, Colton, I'd love to take a look at this property tomorrow. Fantastic. What time tomorrow after 12? And then if he says, well, do you have anything earlier? I have an appointment at that time, but I'd be available after 12. 99% of the time, you'll set that appointment outside of your time block. The problem is agents are uncomfortable holding their time accountable and making the client feel like they're not a priority. But guys, your clients do not care. If you say, hey, I got another appointment at that time, because if you did, if you had the listing appointment with Mitchell at 9, you wouldn't be meeting Christian at 9, would you? No, but because there's somebody else holding you accountable, you won't do it. But the minute you're in your own time and you're responsible for holding yourself accountable to it, everything is negotiable. Your health, your fitness, your kids, your spare time, your fight, like everything is negotiable when we are there to hold it accountable. And it's the fastest way to fail. So do not confuse prospecting with follow-up. The time that you spend focusing on the business of tomorrow, we call it like our unmets, people who we have never met before. We've never shown them a property. We never met for a buyer consultation. Then once we're done, we focus from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, maintaining the business of today, the business that we already have. Now, that does not mean contract negotiations. That does not mean requests for repairs. That does not mean I'm sending out the request for repair. I'm reviewing an inspection report. That doesn't mean I'm setting up appraisals. That doesn't mean I'm doing anything other than continuing to progress the people who I have met closer to the finish line. You're not negotiating contracts. You're not doing it. You can send MLS listings because that's progressing this person further down the pipeline. We're following up with people. We're being disciplined in the time that we spend doing this. And again, turn off your phone, turn off your emails. Do not respond. Don't answer mommy's call. Don't answer daddy's call. Don't answer the husband. Don't answer the wife. Don't answer the spouse, because you have set boundaries within your relationships, your personal relationships, your kids, that help them understand mommy and daddy got to do what we're supposed to do so we can put food on the table. Like, you got to stop letting life get in the way and you focus on the things that your time is designed to be used for. So then you follow up. And then, believe it or not, Christian, you unmuted yourself. Do you have something to say?
I do have a question. So with the follow-up, you're talking about like, this would be like your leads that you have met, you spoke with before, and then, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. And then, so one thing that's kind of tripping me up is like my own like false belief that like, well, I should only call these people after 5 because that's probably when they're going to be available. Can you speak to that?
100%. So number one, get the shit done that you need to get done in the morning, because then life can't get in the way. So like we tell our team all the time, we intentionally will create a call night that's from 4 to 6, because the highest likelihood of getting a hold of somebody is from 4 to 6. However, we're not going to, by that time we're showing houses, we're writing contracts. Life gets in the way too much from 4 to 6. So I'd rather you consistently only get a hold of, say those hour difference, and I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I'll make one up and say it confidently. Say you're able to get a hold of an extra 25% of people from 4 to 6 in comparison to 9 to 11. I would rather you consistently get a hold of 10% less people at the time where I'm guaranteed that you're actually going to make those calls every single day and not fail. It's like, yes, you should still, and people ask all the time, it's like, if every agent did this, and if they treated it like a real job, and if they weren't on appointments, they just went back to making phone calls and trying to create an appointment, they couldn't fail. So just set your time in the morning. That's your unnegotiable, non-negotiable. I don't meet with people. I don't do shit other than prepare for my morning, get my exercise, take care of my health, take care of the things that you need to do because you got to take care of you. If you take care of you, all this other stuff is 10 times easier. If you feel like shit, you look like shit, you're going to perform like shit. So do the things that are going to make you feel good, do the things that are going to make you look good, do the things that are going to make you happy in the very beginning, and then do your phone calls because your time's not going to get interrupted then. But dude, this is literally where it's at because you're going to have a client call and after we talk about this and people are going to pick it up and you're going to allow things to interrupt. And Tom Ferry says it, amateurs let life get in the way, professionals stick to the schedule. It is that simple. The people who stick to the schedule. My buddy Kyle Whistle, holy shit, one of the busiest human beings I have ever met. The dude doesn't deviate. If you're supposed, and this is where else we can be more effective, a tip. Do not take an hour for a meeting that can be done in 10 minutes. Do not allow somebody to take an hour of your schedule for a conversation that can be had over the phone. Like literally, if you want to really change, every morning, go look at your calendar and try to figure out what you can cancel. Like I had a Calendly link where people had, go spend the time and go look at everything you're about to apply your time and attention to and be like, is this going to help me make more money? Is this going to make me a better parent? Is this going to make me a better spouse? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing that's going to make my life better? Half of the shit you can probably get rid of. Your hair appointments don't happen between 9 and 11. Your nail appointments don't happen between 9 and 11. It is a non-negotiable that your time, just 2 fucking hours a day, is what you are going to do to completely change your business. And your inability to do it is where things fall apart. So you truly have to create that accountability in it. Couple things. You have to track numbers. And the reason that you have to track numbers, quick tip, it's like you can use Sisu, you can use CTE, you can use a spreadsheet. Literally, you can download like call trackers. You should have at bare minimum, I'm going to talk to, and your numbers are your numbers, 5 people per day. Have I spoken to 5 people per day? 5 people who I'm going to call, say, what is it, Boone? The 5, 4, the 5, 5, 4, 3?
5 by 3s.
Yeah. It's like you talk to 5 people who, if you just truly went and checked, yes, 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 you'll be in good shape. And the reason it's important to measure, I'm going to use my Peloton thing that I do in the morning and why tracking is so important. And I relate everything to fitness because it's relatable for everybody and we all get it and we understand. This thing tells you what your average output is. And the reason I track it is I know that yesterday my average output was 275. And then all of a sudden, when I don't pay attention to the number in the output, if I feel like shit, if I had a couple cocktails last night, or if I went to bed super late, I naturally am going to try less hard. I'm not going to be as relentless in my efforts. The reason we have to track is because the mornings where I feel like total shit, I watch that minimum output and I will not let myself go under it. So when I'm watching that average output, I yell at myself and mentally get out of my own way. Said, you did it yesterday. Why can't you do it today? You can do it. And you should hear my inner dialogue. I yell at myself, cuss at myself. And it's like, just get it done. And when I really just focus consistently on hitting those metrics, I hit it every single time. But then my rule is I got to improve by 1 average output per day. I just got to get 1 better every single day. And I've been doing it for the longest time and I continuously improve my output by 1 every day. Are there days where I fail because I'm truly sick and I can't do it? Yeah, that's okay. As long as it becomes the isolated incident and it doesn't become the pattern. So when we talk about making phone calls, you need to track how many you make. Like go spend your first week truly focusing this 25 minutes. How many people were you able to talk to in that first 25 minutes? And you track it. And then you don't ever let yourself deviate from it. And if you're not able to get a hold, sometimes people don't answer the phone, then make more phone calls, but you track it to make sure that your output isn't on the decline and that we're keeping a positive trajectory. And if you track those numbers and you pay really good attention to it, you'll win. Our follow-up time, don't confuse it. Don't send listings. Don't do any of that stuff. Okay. Any questions on that before we move on?
We got 2 in the chat right here.
Yes.
Where would you first focus on if you're a new agent, don't have leads to call? There's a lot of great opportunities out there. I'm just curious where you'd start to get leads. And then the other one is, what do you do if you don't know who to call?
Don't think I'm saying this just because I'm a team lead. I've been a new agent. If you don't have leads to call, join a freaking team. I see so many agents. The reason the failure rate's 87% is because 1, you don't know what you don't know. You don't understand how to be effective. You don't have good lead opportunities. You don't have the systems. All these systems that people are using, they're really expensive. If one of my team agents were literally just say, I'm out, I'm going to go do all this on my own, they'd have to spend over 37 grand a month. They're not going to do it. So 1, Go cut your teeth on somebody else's leads. Have opportunities. I would much rather immediately in my first year close as many transactions as I possibly could with a split, knowing that after my first year, all of those job well dones for those 10 clients are now going to result in sphere of influence. It's going to result in compounding referrals and repeat business. That would be my goal for years 1 to 3. Make my money off of somebody else's money. And then once I build my SOI, build it enough, and I got team members on here, build that thing up to where your phone is ringing off the hook and you can run and sustain and have a predictable business without the team, then dip out and go on without it. But it's like, if you don't have a team and you don't want to do that, all your job is have conversations with people, set appointments, meet appointments, execute contracts, close escrows. That's our job. Some of you are going to do it through cold calling. Some of you are going to do it through door knocking. Some of you are going to do it through open houses. Some of you are going to do it through for sale by owners and expireds. It doesn't matter what you do. Just have the damn phone calls, have the damn conversations. If you're having them in person, that in-person conversation is a conversation. So for us, track the conversations, whether you're doing it now. Door dropping is not a conversation. You can't drop a flyer and then sprint away from that door as fast as you possibly can so the seller doesn't find you and see you and you don't get embarrassed and scared. You have to actually knock and have a conversation with them, because your skill set over time will start becoming better. I talked to Julie. That first conversation sucked. Then I talked to Mitchell. I learned what not to say, said it a little bit better, got to Christian, started being more effective in my conversations. By my 10,000th person that I've talked to at their door, I'm going to have a pretty damn scripted, sharp, articulate way to present myself. And I'm only going to get there through practice. So if you're a new agent and you're struggling, just have conversations with people, open houses, door knocking, whatever it's going to do, but you got to have the conversations. So in the very first beginning, we got our perfect morning. We set our day up for success. We focus on the business of tomorrow, and then we focus on the business of today. Now from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, this and only this is when we start writing contracts, we start sending inspection reports, we set up showings, we do all of that stuff. And then this is where agents make excuses. Like, well, Colton, I had a meeting at 12. I couldn't prospect because I had to set these up. Could you come in at 7? Could you have done this last night at 9:30 or 8 or 7? Stop letting life get in the way and focus on actually doing the things that are going to allow you to do it. It's not always easy. It's not always fun, but it's what the most successful agents do. So 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, start doing your setup, start doing your contract negotiations, set up your inspections, do whatever you do. And then from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that's when you go show houses. That's when you list homes. That's when you show homes. That's when you sell homes. That's your time for us doing that. From there, this is where people get caught up. We also have to stop working in the business and we start working on the business, marketing, accounting, strategy, all the things that we do. You need to have time booked. Like I have one time per month to where I review our P&L with my director of operations. We rip through the P&L. It's a very important thing for us to do. It doesn't have to be on a daily basis that we do that. There are things and activities that we have to do. You have to schedule those things to be done. And then you actually hold yourself accountable to doing those things the same exact way I would for the listing appointment. If I had a listing appointment for $5 million to go meet Christian, am I going to show up? Yes. Do you think my P&L time sometimes gets ignored? Yes. And that is really stupid because it is a necessary action for me to progress my business in the right direction. So you schedule that time and you hold yourself accountable. And if you catch yourself not doing it, smack yourself and get an accountability buddy. Get somebody who's going to force you to start doing these important things. 6, your personal life is also scheduled. The time that you don't allow phone calls to come in and interrupt your spouse, like this is such an evolution in who I was 10 years ago to who I am today. If I'm at dinner with my daughter, they can wait. The house better be on fire if it's going to interrupt. Somebody better be dead if that's going to be interrupted. You do not allow things that get in the way of your time. So when you're supposed to be with your spouse, that means date night does not get pushed. That means maintenance on your car does not get pushed. That means your haircuts does not get pushed. You are going to have your scheduled time to take care of your business, to take care of your loved ones. But this is where we all suck, is it just comes to our ability to execute and implement the plan. You guys knew all this shit. Nothing I said here is new. Nothing I said isn't something you've heard 1,000 times. But if you look at all the most successful people, they're the ones who preach this shit more than ever. And I promise you, I have stuff on this that I do all the time that I'm telling you not to do. It's that we make it an isolated incident and it does not become the pattern. And as you implement more of these things, truly focusing on only adding 1 or 2 for the first 3 weeks, get a habit made out of it, start tracking that habit. I use an app called Productive. And that productive app is I literally have to go say, did you do this? Yes. Did you do this? Yes. And then it gives me a little sticker and a thumbs up. And if I do it for 30 days, it makes a really pretty sound. Like when you win 3 cents in Las Vegas at an arcade or at the slot machines, it makes this big awarding sound and you feel all good, but you look down, but you won like $3. It's like you're trying to just reward the good behaviors. You're trying to reward the progress. That's all we need to be focused on. So give yourself time, reward yourself. That productive app by far is the best thing. 100% diet compliance, cleared my client CRM, talk to 5 agents, talk to 5 past clients, talk to 5 new clients. Like you go set whatever your parameters are and check that box every single day. And if you do it day in and day out, you won't fail. It all comes down to just being proactive with our time, not reactive. 90% of agents are so reactive throughout their day because they fail to hold themselves accountable and they fail to take control of their time. And you fail to take control of the expectations with your clients. Like it is so easy to control your clients and their expectation of when they can meet with you, so long as you set those expectations and you tell them when they can get a hold of you and they tell them when you can't. When you tell somebody, hey guys, after 7 o'clock, I focus on my family, I promise you nobody's getting upset with you. Other than that, again, told you guys, none of this is sexy. Want to get you out of here on time. This is right now, I'm so excited for it. Because 2023, the real estate market goes through seasons. There's seasons when we're preparing the soil, we're creating the processes, we're creating the strategy, and we are preparing for the seeds that we are going to have to plant. And then when we're really good, we plant the seeds. We don't try to skip that step because you can't possibly skip the step of planting seeds and expect to be able to harvest. As agents right now, we're in planting season. And then we got to go water, and then we got to go de-weed. My lead conversion coach went through this whole thing, and it gave such clarity to what our focus is, because 90% of agents are skipping the preparation of the soil. They really are being really inconsistent on the watering of the seeds and making sure that we're pulling the weeds. And what that means in our CRMs is you're trying to find the people who aren't motivated. So you stop paying attention to them. The reason that farmers go pull the weeds from their crops is because those weeds take nutrients from the soil, which means that they can't place your time and attention on the people who are motivated. So we need to be excited about finding the people who aren't motivated and not to let it discourage you, because they are taking your bandwidth. They're taking the nutrients that are going to help the rest of them grow and make us more productive. And then when harvest time comes and we've done steps 1 through 4, we get to eat, because we actually have a crop that's been grown because of our efforts and our discipline and our ability to string together, not days, not weeks, but months worth of consistent effort. There's people who, when the market turns, and when the headlines are more positive and people are more confident and interest rates start improving, that weren't planting the seeds when the market sucked. And then all of a sudden they're going to have to start sprinting to try to catch back up. It's like the market's going to turn, and this is the time for us to be planting our seeds, nurturing and growing, because when we do finally see rates, and we've seen a huge pickup, thank God, because November and December, it was so strange and eerie. But now that rates have started to improve, we've seen a huge uptick in escrows, pendings, and buyer confidence. So just continue to set yourself up. If you're setting new commitments for the new year, make sure that you guys are setting up your day to allow those commitments to be upheld and to hold your time accountable for it. Super simple. It is not sexy in any way, shape, or form. But if we stay focused and if we stay committed and we do the unsexy shit day in and day out, we predictably move the needle and progress it in a positive direction in our business. All right. Want to get you guys out of here on time. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type it or speak it. And if there aren't any, we're all good to go.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Yes, I was wondering what your top 4 lead sources were in 2022.
2022, so we're about 65 to 70%. I'll have to double check, but we're like 60, 75% SOI, past clients or client referrals, agent referrals, doing stuff like this. Like we do this and people are like, well, why are you doing this even for EXP agents? It's like, because we get so many agent referrals now, because we do stuff like this, it pays dividends. So it's like, that is the vast majority of our business. But if you go, then we have online leads, Zillow, Realtor.com, Veterans United, like those on-site portals. Open houses is really starting to pick up momentum because we're being way more intentional with our efforts, how we're collecting leads, making sure those leads go into the CRM, making sure we have automation and communication follow-up for those. Like making each of those sources more effective is helping them grow, of course, shocking. And really, those are our top 3 for sure. Looking back, like if we went even 3 years back, there was a point where we were like 80% Zillow, 80% like online leads. Because
Okay.
we didn't know anybody when I moved to California. So paid leads are what have compounded into our SOI and our sphere of influence. So when I told people go join a team, it's because I want to build that SOI off of somebody else's back. And then when I've done my job well enough and I've created respect and I've got confidence in my people and I've earned their referrals, and your phone just starts ringing and you no longer need the team, dude, when my team leaves because they're doing well enough on their own and they can thrive without me, I'm not gonna be mad at them. I'm gonna be happy for them.
Mhm.
Those paid leads are what got us there. All of our SOI links back to a paid lead.
Got it. Cool. Awesome, buddy. Thanks.
Any other questions? Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Golden.
Crush it in 2023 and have a great rest of your 2022.